Trail to the reptile god's lair. The trail, Greyhawk hexes 112 J5, 111 I5, 112 J5, 112 J5, and 111 I5. So these two here, let's go in a bit. Just below the Rushmores. 111 H5, 112 H5, 111 H5. This one and this one. So these four here. Interesting. It is assumed that the players have now determined that the cult headquarters are not located in the village. If Ramney goes as an advisor, he will not use his spells unless the success of the expedition is jeopardized, and he will certainly save his minor globe of invulnerability for the confrontation with Naga herself. He will counsel that the departure be delayed until any lost hit points and spells can be restored. The route of the cult members, both human and reptilian, from Orlane to their dungeon headquarters occupies 4 days travel time. The first day will be spent crossing the plains east of Orlane. Plains east of Orlane. Okay. Few, if any, monsters will be encountered here. The second and third days will be spent crossing through the dim forest. Here's the dim forest. It is very likely that unfriendly beings will attempt to molest the group beneath those dark boughs. The fourth day will find the party slogging through the mire of the Rushmores. It is a virtual certainty that some of the marsh's inhabitants will be encountered here. Okay. A little confused. The trail. What was it, 111? I'm confused. Alright, anyway. Appropriate wandering monster charts are given for each area in the corresponding section of the module. The DM must remember that it's important that the party get to the dungeon. Encounters that are obviously too strong for the group, especially if they have been weakened by previous encounters, should be reduced or bypassed. For example, the party might come across a predator's kill or war party's trail instead of the actual monsters, or they might be able to sneak past a monster that is otherwise engaged. On the other hand, a very strong party might encounter up to double the number of creatures or more. In all cases, the DM should match the challenge to the party strength and to the general flow of the adventure. Whiskers can follow the trail of the troglodytes automatically, although the DM may want to roll some percentage dice to make the party apprehensive. If Ramney and Whiskers are not accompanying the group, a ranger may attempt to follow the trail. Use the table in the player's handbook to determine success and modified as follows. A. Add 25% to the die roll to the oft-used state of the trail. B. Die must be rolled each day spent crossing the plains or forest. The trail and swamp is obvious. If no cult members have used the trail before the adventure, assume that 7 days have passed since the last one travelled it. Losing the trail means a 1-day delay. A subsequent success means the trail has been found. Hardcore. Let's see. Still confused about where this trail is. 112 J5. Oh, where's all lane supposed to be? There. It's weird. Crossing the plain. The first day of travel from Orlane will be spent crossing the grassy plains east of the village. The farther from Orlane that the party progresses, the fewer signs of civilization will be seen. Most of the farms here have been abandoned or are occupied by cult members. No travellers have been met since the trouble in Orlane has put a halt to the caravan traffic, At the end of the day of travelling, the farms will be left behind and the trees of the dim forest will be visible in the distance. The trail has been following the track to Hook Hill this far, but the party need to pause for the night. A wandering monster check should be made for the first night. Roll a d6 with a result of 6 indicating an encounter. If a monster happens along, check the dim forest wandering monsters table to see which of the forest denizens has wandered out onto the plain. The table's coming in a... where is it? Where's the wandering monsters for the... Oh, dim forest. Okay, yep, yeah. You got this. Alright, through the dim forest. Early on the second day of travel, the party will enter this region of permanent twilight. Moss dangles from the limbs over the party's heads, and no sunlight pierces the thick greenery of the ancient trees. This is a hushed wood. The common sounds of squirrels and birds are missing. Several hours after entering the forest, the trail of the dungeon parts from the track, veering sharply to the right. Because of the lack of sunlight, there is little underbrush, so the party may walk 2 or 3 abreast if they desire. The remainder of this day and all the next day are spent following a faint trail across the forest floor. Wandering monster checks in the dim forest should be made once a day and twice each night spent therein. If an encounter is indicated, roll a d8 to determine what is encountered. Dim forest wandering monsters table. Goblins 2 to 8. Wild boar. Troglodytes. Ogre. Zombies. 1 to 6. Sorry, that's 1 to 4 troglodytes. Wolves 1 to 4. Black bear. Skeletons 2 to 8. Interesting. The ogre is 4 hit dice. Black bear's 3 hit dice. Wild boar 3 hit dice. Once a group of wandering monsters has been met, it will not be encountered again. The muck of the Rushmores. At the end of the second day of travel in the forest, the trail will reach the edge of a broad and fetid marsh. Thick rushes, interspersed with patches of scummy water, stretch as far as the eye can see, even if someone climbs one of the trees at the edge of the forest. Further advance will involve wading through 1 or 2 feet of water and slimy mud. The good news is the trail is very obvious here, since the rushes have been crushed out of the way to open the passage. It will take 1 full day of travel to cross the short distance to the mouth of the dungeon, since movement is very slow here. Because the swamp is teeming with awful things, 4 wandering monster checks should be made during the crossing. If 2 have resulted in encounters, however, disregard any remaining checks. Use a d4 to determine the beast or beasties encountered. Rushmore's wandering monster table. Giant leeches 1 to 4. Sturges 1 to 6. Troglodytes 1 to 4. Giant snapping turtle. Small specimen. Hit dice 4. If the party elects to travel at night, the trip will still take 4 periods of travel broken by 3 rests. There will actually be a greater chance of encounters at night, since most of these creatures are nocturnal, so add an extra check each night. That's the end of that section.